Welcome back, dear viewers, to our channel. Today is a great day to unravel the complex storylines in our favorite daytime dramas. Join me as we delve into the latest, shocking developments that everyone is talking about. The stage is set, the characters are in action, and the truth awaits revelation. Kat just walked out of those hospital doors, and the show wants us to believe she is stepping into the sunlight of a brand new chapter. We are supposed to look at her fragile, recovering state and feel a sense of relief. But did you see the way she moved, the way she hesitated at the threshold of the medical center? The strange editing choices during that entire sequence were entirely unsettling. The camera lingered on the automatic doors closing behind her for just a fraction of a second too long. It felt like a prison door shutting, not a gateway to freedom. I can't stop thinking about this. Was she truly ready to be discharged, or was she pushed out into the world before she could fully process whatever trauma put her in that hospital bed to begin with? And then, almost as if orchestrated by some unseen, malevolent force, we are immediately thrown into the chaotic, suffocating atmosphere of the Dupree family reunion, of all the places in the world. Of all the times, why there, the manipulative family dynamics of the Duprees are legendary. A sprawling web of generational guilt, whispered secrets, and public facades. To place Kat, freshly released from medical care, into the epicenter of this social minefield is either an act of supreme ignorance or calculated cruelty. And who is the architect of this specific cruelty? Tomas Navarro. Tomas chose the Dupree family reunion to drop to one knee. Why? Why did Tomas Navarro choose exactly this moment, surrounded by the judging eyes of a family known for their emotional power struggles, to propose to Kat? Do you think he planned this from the start? Let's talk about Tomas. Let's talk about his nervous behavior in the background of every shot leading up to the proposal. He was pacing. He was adjusting his cuffs. He kept touching his pocket. At first glance, it looks like standard pre-proposal jitters, but watch his eyes. The eye contact he made with the patriarchs of the Dupree family across the room before he approached Kat. It wasn't the look of a man seeking a blessing. It was the look of a man signaling that a trap was about to be sprung. Is Tomas acting out of genuine, overwhelming love, or is he hiding a much darker, ulterior motive? Is this proposal a smokescreen for something else entirely? No, something is deeply off here. We have to look at the history. We have to look at the glaring, neon red flag that has been waving in our faces for months. Tomas previously refused to let Kat move in with him. He shut down the idea of cohabitation with a coldness that sent shivers down my spine. He claimed he needed space. He claimed they weren't ready to share a roof. And now, suddenly, he wants to bypass sharing an apartment and jump straight into a legally binding, lifelong commitment. It makes zero logical sense. Unless moving in together meant she would have access to his private life. To his secrets, a secret relationship, perhaps. If they marry, maybe he controls the narrative. Maybe he controls the assets. Maybe he controls her. When Tomas pulled out that ring, the entire atmosphere of the room shifted. The pauses in dialogue were deafening. The ambient noise of the party seemed to be artificially muted in the sound mix. And Kat just froze. She was completely paralyzed. That reaction didn't feel human. It was the reaction of a prey animal realizing it has walked directly into a snare. Why was she smiling during that scene just moments before, laughing with a distant cousin, only for her face to drain of all color the second the velvet box appeared? The silence stretched. It stretched so long that it became physically uncomfortable to watch. We are talking about a woman who just survived a harrowing hospital stay, staring down at a man who previously rejected her desire for domestic closeness, who is now weaponizing romance in front of an audience. Is she still harboring deep, suffocating resentment over his past refusal? How could she not be? You don't just erase the sting of being told I don't want to live with you with a diamond ring. The psychological whiplash is enough to break a person. Maybe that means nothing, but I keep looking at the champagne flutes. Objects shown repeatedly usually have a symbolic meaning. Throughout the party, the camera kept cutting to these fragile, crystal glasses, filled to the brim, teetering on the edge of silver trays, fragility, imminent shattering. Caught is the glass. Tomas is the tray. The tension is the gravity waiting to pull it all down. Will this grand romantic gesture mutate into the most humiliating public spectacle in Genoa's city history? Imagine the sheer horror of standing in front of the entire Dupree clan, a family that thrives on the failures of others and having to say no. The humiliation wouldn't just be Tomas's, it would be Kat's, the whispers, the sudden turning of backs, the pitying stares. Tomas has effectively cornered her. By proposing in public, he has stripped her of her agency. If she says yes, she is trapped in a marriage built on a foundation of unresolved rejection. If she says no, she is a villain who broke a man's heart in front of his extended social circle immediately after he stood by her during a hospital stay. It is textbook emotional manipulation. Why does every scene feel emotionally manipulated? This keeps getting worse the more I think about it. If Kat actually finds the strength to refuse him, what happens next? Will Tomas accept the rejection with grace and simply walk away? Not a chance. Not the Tomas we have been watching. The micro-expressions on his face when he is denied even the smallest thing are terrifying. If she says no, he will demand to know why. He will dig. He will relentlessly pursue the truth behind her reaction, and in doing so, he might uncover things Kat desperately wants to keep buried. Revenge theories are already flooding my mind. What if Tomas already knows her secret, and this proposal is a test? What if he knows exactly why she ended up in the hospital, and he is using this public forum to force a confession? This proposal is not a bridge to the future. It is a match dropped on the gasoline of their past. It is guaranteed to rip open every old wound, every buried conflict, every unspoken grievance they have ever had. The argument about moving in together wasn't just about real estate. It was about trust. Tomas didn't trust her in his space. Now he wants her in his life forever. The contradiction is maddening. The hidden resentment in Kat's eyes when she looked down at him wasn't just surprise. It was anger. It was the fury of a woman realizing her vulnerability is being exploited. And what about the Dupree family themselves? Why are they just standing there watching like a Greek chorus? The lighting in the room during the proposal shifted from warm amber to a harsh, cold white. It looked like an interrogation room. Are they in on it? Is there a secret waiting to detonate right there in the middle of the hors d'oeuvres? Perhaps someone else is about to walk through those doors, a former lover, a doctor from the hospital with test results, a witness to whatever Tomas has been hiding in that apartment he refused to share. I genuinely don't know what to believe anymore. My mind is racing through every possible permutation of this disaster. Let's go back to the hospital. Let's re-examine the timeline. Kat is admitted. Tomas is distant. Kat is discharged. Tomas is suddenly overwhelmingly present and proposing marriage. The whiplash is intentional. The writers are trying to disorient us, just as Tomas is trying to disorient Kat. He is using the adrenaline and emotional exhaustion of her recovery to slip a ring on her finger before she has the mental clarity to question his motives. It is a hostile takeover disguised as a fairy tale. Look at the way he held her hand. His grip was too tight. The knuckles were white. That isn't the gentle touch of a lover. That is a restraint. He is anchoring her to the spot so she cannot flee. And her breathing, did you notice her breathing? Shallow, rapid, panicked. She was having a trauma response right there in the middle of the Dupree family reunion, and everyone just smiled and clapped. The grotesque nature of the crowd's reaction, oblivious to her internal psychological unraveling, is a masterclass in horror. Maybe I'm reading too deeply into this. Or maybe the show wants us to ignore the obvious. They want us to swoon over the music swell and the shiny jewelry. But we are smarter than that. We see the cracks in the foundation. We see the way Tomas's jaw clenched when Kat didn't immediately scream yes. We see the terrifying possibility that this isn't a love story at all, but a psychological thriller unfolding in plain sight. If Kat says yes, she is sealing her doom. She will be moving into a marriage with a man who kept her at arm's length until she was at her absolute weakest. If she says no, the fallout will be apocalyptic. Tomas's ego will shatter, and the shards will cut everyone in the room. The Dupree family will feast on the drama, using it as ammunition in their own endless internal wars. And what if the secret that explodes isn't Tomas's, but Kat's? What if her hesitation isn't just about the apartment, but about something that happened while she was away? What if she met someone? What if she realized, in the quiet, sterile environment of the hospital, that she doesn't love Tomas at all? The guilt of that realization, colliding with the public spectacle of his proposal, would be enough to cause the absolute paralysis we witnessed. Every single detail feels loaded with toxic intent. The way the camera panned across the faces of the guests, the sudden, jarring cut to a wide shot showing how isolated Kat and Tomas looked despite being surrounded by dozens of people. The editing is screaming at us that this is a mistake. The narrative is begging us to intervene, even though we are just observers trapped on the other side of the screen. I can't shake the feeling that Tomas is punishing her. Punishing her for getting sick, punishing her for needing him. Punishing her for wanting to move in together previously by forcing her into an even more extreme commitment on his terms, on his turf, on his schedule. It is a demonstration of absolute power. You couldn't have my apartment, but now you must take my name. The emotional manipulation is so dense it is suffocating. I need to watch the episode again. I need to freeze frame the moment the box opens. I need to analyze the reflection in the diamond. Is there someone standing behind the camera? Is there a reason the Dupree patriarch nodded at Tomas right before it happened? The paranoia is setting in, but in a town like Genoa City, paranoia is usually just intuition that hasn't been proven yet. The walls are closing in on Kat Richardson, and the worst part is, the man building the cage is the one holding the key. We are witnessing the destruction of a woman's autonomy, wrapped in velvet and presented as a gift. This is not a romantic milestone. This is a hostage situation. And the timer is ticking down to 0.